Okay, so what is your age?
I am 19 years old.
19 years old, and do you feel confident doing katas?
Yes, I do.
You do? And how important are katas to you in your learning in Kempo?
I think it helps you work on your stances, the way you shift your body, show you where your blocks are, so if someone punches you, you know where your block is at.
Right. Okay. I'm sorry. Let me do that. Okay, and do you practice at home?
No, I only train at the school.
Okay, you only train at the school. And do you think you can teach a form to someone?
Yeah, I think I can teach a form to someone.
Okay. And are katas hard to remember?
They are hard to remember, but if you learn them in pieces, I think you can get it. Like, if you learn half of it in one day and practice the whole week, and the other half the other week, pretty sure you get it.
Okay. And what's the hardest part of about doing the katas?
The hardest part? It's probably all the stances and the way you have to move your legs. Probably the hardest ones.
Okay, so stances. And what would help you do katas better?
Probably train more at home instead of just coming here and training here.
Okay. And do you think are katas hard to do or hard to remember?
Katas, I would say they are hard to remember, but you'll eventually get it. Everybody does.
Okay, and most of all, do you like doing katas?
No, I don't like doing katas.
Okay.
But I'll do it anyways.
Okay. Why don't you like doing katas?
Because I prefer to train more, for my self-defense.
Uh-huh. So even though katas are important to learn the forms of your stances and stuff, you don't think it has a lot of value to.
It does have a lot of value, but I just don't like practicing them. But I'm practicing them just to, become a better fighter.
What would motivate you to do katas more?
What would motivate me?
Yeah.
Probably if I see someone who can really impress me with it. If I like it, I'll do it.
I see. So are you saying like the moves look really cool?
Yeah, I think the moves look really cool.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's good. Thank you. All right. So first off, what is your age?
48.
48. Okay, and do you feel confident doing your katas?
Most of the times.
Most of the times. So when you did feel unconfident about your katas, why were you?
Because I didn't have a chance to practice.
Okay, not a lot of practice time. And how important are the katas to you?
For me, they're very important because I can learn. I have more coordination, more focus on what I'm doing.
Uh huh. And do you practice at home?
Yes, I do.
Yes. Okay. And do you think you can teach a form to someone?
Yes, I believe I can.
You can. Okay. And are katas hard to remember?
Sometimes they are. Depends on which one it is.
Why is it hard to remember?
Usually, whenever they have different kind of weird moves, this one is hard to remember. The coordination of your feet and your hands.
So if you were away from the studio and you were practicing it, and is there any way to refer to those moves, or do you have to actually wait to come back to the studio to do it?
Sometimes I have to come back, but sometimes what I do, I go and see the tapes of the tests that I have done.
Oh, okay.
So I can review everything.
Okay, so you have it recorded. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. And what's the hardest part of doing the katas?
I think the coordination.
The coordination, you mean like left and right?
Yeah.
Okay. And what would help you do katas better?
More practice.
More practice? Okay. And the last one is, do you like doing katas?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Because I think there's where I can get more to learn more about the movements and the reason of each movement is what I think is more important, because they tell you, okay, if it's a punch, you're gonna block this way, you're gonna move this way, and mainly because there's more coordination.
Okay, so it helps. So your motivation is that it helps you feel more coordinated with your body. I see. Okay. Okay. Teaching katas, what do you do to motivate the students?
to motivate the students
to learn them.
Practice.
Yeah. To do both.
I guess the main thing I try to do is get them to visualize, a successful form. A form that looks good, has nice snap, has all the things that that make a good form. I try to get them to see, people doing the forms that are very advanced, people that have nice forms, so they can get a real concrete picture of what a good form looks like, and then just try to show them how they're going to get from point A to point B. How I disappeared behind them. Go ahead, Austin. Yeah. So once they see a really good form, then just try to kind of use that visual as motivation, letting them know if you do the things that we tell you to do with your practice, that's what your form is going to look like. So the whole time they're practicing, they kind of have a mental image of where their form is going to go.
Right. And so is the motivation so that they'll look good doing their form, or is it
that's the initial motivation, because probably the initial gratification is going to be that the form looks sharp, right? But then when you get further than that, when you dig down deeper, then I do talk to the students about things like it's going to increase your balance, your stability. It is going to increase your core muscle strength. Your memory is going to get better. You're going to feel that, when you do a form, that nice sense of release and relaxation. The great exercise that you get, and just the great muscle work. So that's kind of like, I guess that would be the finer points, as you dig down deeper into the form, those are the things you'll get out of it, in the long run. But I do think initially, especially for beginners, the first thing you want to do is show them that the form is going to look sharp, it's going to look good.
Okay, and the other one is, how much importance do you stress on doing the katas? Like, why is it important then to know it? What is the value to them?
There was a time in my life where, of course, I thought that it had very little importance, because, I personally was concentrating on the fighting and self-defense part, but I've come to realize that it provides a nice balance. I think when you find that people concentrate just on the physical, just the fighting, or just the self-defense, there's somewhat of an imbalance in the way that student perceives martial arts. They tend to just go after purely physical things. I want to kick hard, I want to punch fast. Forms gives you that, that balance, because as we know, martial arts is at least 50% mental, if not more. Some people would argue that it's even more than that. So I think forms kind of keeps you grounded. It really keeps you grounded mentally. Some people say it keeps you grounded spiritually. I mean, if you go that deep into it, it can. But I do think for me it does provide a nice balance. So when I find myself concentrating too much on physical things, I like to go back to doing my forms, because it makes me concentrate on those other things. I need my mind to be sharp. Also forms is like moving meditation. You're thinking while you're moving. You take another another activity like being an auto mechanic. If I'm working on a car engine and I'm not sure exactly what to do next, I can stop, step back and just look at the car, think about it for a while, then go back and do the application. When you're doing a form or you're practicing self-defense, you've got to think on the spot. You've got to think while you're moving. And I think that's what forms provide you. It provides you that ability to think at the same time you're going through your motions. So again, that balance, that reminds you that, I really need my mind to be sharp, I need my mind to be focused, and I need my mind to be working while I'm moving. I don't have time to, like in a form, you can't stop, sit here like this and think about your form and then move. You've got to think about it while you're moving. So I think for that reason...
It's a mental exercise as well.
I think so, very much so.
Okay.
I think for that reason it's real important.
Okay, what difficulties do you think students have when they're learning their katas?
Difficulties? Retention, memorization is probably the first difficulty. The first thing that you encounter when you're teaching a form is just memorizing, because the moves are complex. And forms are made up of movements that are not just basic. You get past the first two forms, and in our system, you're doing movements that are definitely not basic anymore. So I think memorization, and then I think the other one is coordination. Those are moves that are usually pretty foreign to most people when they start out. So when they first start to do it, I think the body feels kind of awkward. These are things I'm not used to doing. So I think those are the first obstacles you run into.
Okay, and do you think there are any environmental barriers that would prevent students from learning it?
environmental like.
Environmental, like space, or you know, like if we use a class example, like there will be lots of people. Go ahead. In the classroom, and then so they don't get a good view of it, or they don't have anything to refer to outside of them.
I think there can be. Hopefully we can teach our students to overcome that, but I think the potential for environmental barriers is there because like if the person has a small apartment or something, and they can't actually, you know, make the same steps that they make here, that could be a little bit of a problem when practicing. Then of course the other one is if a person practices in a place other than the studio and what's around them looks different, you know, sometimes you can confuse people.